Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Busy. I hope you enjoyed today's story. And if you do, please subscribe. Here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Busy. It is Wednesday and it is it's the 7th of May. Do you know what that means? It means the conclave starts today. And you're like, oh my gosh, today's episode is so significant, especially the day, because it's the conclave. The conclave starts to elect a new pope, starts today. And whether you're Catholic or not, it's a powerful symbol of transition, which is going to be my topic today. The old chapter is over and the new one hasn't begun yet. And honestly, that middle space, that trans part, can be the hardest of all. I want to talk about that in-between space today. The middle, the weird place where nothing feels good, but nothing is terribly bad either. It's just uncertain, awkward, quiet. And for many of us, especially those of us who have been parenting for 20 or 30 years, it's a space that can be unfamiliar and a little uncomfortable. After decades of doing everything for others, how do we take care of ourselves? How do we trust that God is still working even when we don't see the next step clearly? That's what we're going to dive into today. So welcome. It is episode 546. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you enjoyed Monday's podcast with my husband. I've gotten amazing feedback, which I'm so thrilled about. And he's going to come back on this Monday. And I have him coming on another Monday. And then I have a man guest. So all my guests in the month of May are men. And isn't that crazy? Because we are in the time of transition with the old pope just passing and a new pope about to be elected today. And I don't know if it's going to take one day or if it's going to take 10 days. None of us know. So if you're wondering what is the conclave, I decided to go to my friendly ChatGPT. And the conclave is the secret gathering of Roman Catholic cardinals who come together to elect a new pope after the current pope dies or resigns. It's held in the Sistine Chapel. The conclave follows strict procedures and traditions, with cardinals voting in secrecy until one candidate receives a 2/3 majority. The result is signaled to the world by white smoke rising from the chapel's chimney. And it's been so interesting, I feel like, considering there's so much social media right now. It definitely wasn't big social media when Pope Francis became Pope. There was no, we didn't have constant coverage of social media and getting all these people's opinions and everything else. And it's been so interesting, I think, for me personally, to watch what's going on with the Pope, because there's so many people that are making predictions. It is like the final four. Father Jeff said on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, it is truly like a final four and everybody wants to know the answer. But the problem is we are in a transition and the only person who knows for sure is God, who it's going to be. They can throw as many contenders into the race, but until God comes down and makes his decision through these cardinals, are we going to have the answer? So I think we have a lot to look forward to. I don't know if it's going to be tonight that we are going to hear who is our new pope, or if it's going to be 5 days from now or 5 weeks from now. I have no clue, and I think none of you do either. And all these people can talk and talk and talk and try and tell us what they think the answer is going to be. But the reality is, until we know the white smoke is out, we are not going to know. So here we go. We're in this state of transition. We don't know. We don't know. It's to trust that what these men are going to decide is the right answer, is what God wants, right? These priests have been getting together and chatting. They don't have their phones. They don't have social media. They're just sitting in these rooms, talking, conversing with each other, having ideas. And I think ideas ideally come from God, right? If we're thinking ideas, God has brought those ideas to us. So knowing that they're sitting there in this transition and they want to make the best possible decision that they can. What they feel, what each individual feels is right moving forward for the Catholic Church. Who's the right pope? Why is this the right pope? Why do we need this man or this other man to be the pope? They're discerning. They're taking the time to sit and listen to one another and question one another why they think this person or why they think that person. It's kind of cool, isn't it? I think it is. I didn't even realize till today. I watched um, Cardinal Dolan from New York City. He had a little reel on from Sunday. And I didn't realize that once you became a cardinal or bishop, you got a church in that was like your church in Italy. Because when Peter was made pope in the beginning, being our first pope, everybody had a church there in Italy. So here we are now in Rome. And now here we are. I'm like learning so much that all these bishops have, all these cardinals have a place in Rome where they hold mass. It's their church. It's their church. Not only is, Cardinal Dolan's church in New York City, St. Patrick's Cathedral, but he also has St. Guadalupe Church in Rome, where he presides over that church as well. I mean, he's obviously not there all the time because he's always in St. Patrick's, but it's so interesting. I had no idea. So when they get together, they are coming from a place of love and a place of wanting the best of what God wants. Okay, what God wants. And I think that this transition place, I know for me, and I don't know if you listening can relate to this or not, but this place of transition of where we go, let's face it, from the beginning, we transition from being individuals to then being spouses to then being mothers. And what that transition is like is so hard, right? So you go from being just this single person and then you meet somebody, your perfect partner, and you guys get married, and then you decide to have a baby, and the baby becomes then the focus and it's no longer your spouse. But in the Bible, which I never even realized until now, it's like your spouse is supposed to be number one and then your child. So you and your spouse, because you're number one, you come together and you raise the children together. Isn't that interesting? And then you become a parent, and there's such a transition from being single and wanting to do what you want to do and realizing, oh no, I have to do what's best for my child. That feels weird, right? For so long, it was like, I've got a whim. I want to go travel. You go and you travel. And then it happens, oh no, I can't travel because I have a child. I have to stay home. I have to take care of my child. I can't do what I want to do. I can't, that transition of being able to go from shopping and buying whatever you want to, oh my gosh, I can't buy whatever I want. I've got to pay for my kids, pay for their food. I have to pay for their sports equipment. I have to pay for their bottles. I have to pay for their diapers. I have to pay for their formula. All these expenses you didn't have before. Everything changes, right? Everything changes. It's a transition. It's a transition. And I think the transition is always a hard place, that trans place. A friend of mine just said this to me this morning. That's where I got this idea this morning to talk about this place of being of who am I? What am I doing? Who's in charge? What is my life now? Who am I supposed to be? How do I get there? It was so long we were like so selfish and about ourselves and wanting to do what we wanted to do. We want to go to parties. We want to meet a guy. We want to do all those things. And then we meet the guy and we have the transition to become a bride. And then we become husband and wife. And then we get to know each other. And all we want to do is make, at least for me, is all I wanted to do was have children So it was like my first wedding anniversary. We were pregnant, and it was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to have a baby, because that's all I wanted to do was be a mama. And being a mom is hard. It's hard. You have to be old enough, and at least for me, know what, like, I could handle it, and know that it wasn't this self-centered child that I could have been. It was all about me. I had to grow up a little bit before I became a parent. So once I got married and walked through those feelings and walked through that this is the right person that I'm going to make a life with. And I really didn't know very much, because let's face it, for one, I was drinking a lot back then, and I wasn't really raised in an environment that taught me like the basics of like good and bad. I mean, yes, obviously through church and that sort of thing, but about race, I didn't have a great example. And I'm not trying to bash my parents at all by saying this. It's just something that I've recognized, is that I didn't have that parameters. It wasn't like two lines next to each other. Like, this is your marriage is first, Elizabeth. And then after that, you have children, and then you make decisions that are between the two of you of how you're going to raise the children, what kind of schooling you want to do, what kind of religious way you want to raise them, all those things. I think my entire life was about just getting those check marks. I got a husband, check. Now I have a kid, check. Now I've joined the right country club. I've sent my kids to the right schools. Da 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 da. All this stuff that didn't really matter. It really, if you think about it now, looking back in hindsight and knowing where I am today, like, that wasn't the important stuff. The important stuff wasn't those checkbox. Those important stuff would have been the communicating with my husband and making a decision with my husband of how we were going to raise our children. What was important to us for our children? I didn't take that time. It was all about getting drunk, I have to tell you. It's kind of sad, but it's true. It was like, okay, we're going to get drunk again. We're going to get drunk again. Okay, we're going to have a party. Oh, guess what? I'm pregnant. Oh, guess what are we going to do now? And so once I got sober, when my kids were really, pretty young, 6, 7, no, 6, 8, and 10, Ken had just turned 10. That was a huge, that was a huge you know, that was a huge transition, was changing and becoming a single parent. And what am I supposed to do? And trying to be a perfectionist in that job. Like, I have to do it all perfect. I have to do perfect. I have to do perfect. I was like a mom on steroids. My kids are like, oh my gosh, today they were like, you were a helicopter mom. You were a total helicopter mom. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I was a helicopter mom, but I do know this. I wanted to make sure that I was the best mom I could be for who they were. I woke up and realized, oh my gosh, I am in a place that I have 3 children that need to be educated. They need to get to college. It was like my biggest thing was like getting them to the finish line. Would I do things differently now? Maybe, but it is what it is. And now they're all off. But I want to go back to that time of transition of going, okay, so I went and I got divorced and I rented a house, and I had to do that for the first time, like by myself with 3 kids. Like, all right, I'm renting this house. I was still drinking. I didn't want any responsibilities. It was like the responsibility thing for me was so hard because I'd never been responsible my entire life. I'd never been responsible. I had always called my parents or my grandparents or whatever to help me, but I'd never done anything that was, I want to say, esteemable. I mean, I tried to do esteemable acts, but whatever. Uh, for whatever reason, they didn't turn out the way they were supposed to, because I let people in that I shouldn't have. I had feelings that I shouldn't let people in. I did it anyway. I didn't trust my gut. I think when we're drinking, it's really hard to trust your gut because you don't even know who you are, because you're constantly drinking and hiding those feelings. So the transition was huge from being a drinker to being sober. That transition was huge. I was like, who am I? What do I like? What's my favorite color? What's important to me? Who do I want to surround myself with? Who don't I want to surround myself with? What is it like not to be a chameleon? What is it like to have a feeling and go by what I really feel in my heart is the right thing? What is my heart saying? What is my heart not saying? What am I to do? Where am I supposed to go? Where is it telling me? Like, where is the yellow brick road that I'm supposed to follow? And it was a lot of looking back, it was a lot of like throwing things against the wall and they wouldn't stick. Like, I tried this, I tried that, I tried this, I tried that. And it was all about like trying to see what was right, what fits, what is the right thing. I will give the easiest analogy here, which is when my kids were playing sports. It was I remember, especially with my oldest, it was like, what does he like to do? Is it soccer? Is it this? Is it that? And just trying all these different sports, not letting him quit, but just like sticking with it. And my daughter, she tried everything. She's like, I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like this. But we would try and she wouldn't stop. It was until she found the right thing, which was until she was in middle school. She found the sport that she liked. And was it so important for me that my kids play sports? You might be thinking that right now. And the reason I thought that was important that my kids play sports was that, for one, it's a team. There's no I. And even if it's an individual sport in high school and middle school, if you're on the tennis team, it's a whole group of people you get together with. The squash team is a whole group. Obviously, it's a football team. Wrestling, it's a wrestling. They have a whole team. Crew, rowing, there's a whole team that you have there. You get on a boat with 4 or 5 people. So, my daughter never did a single. So, knowing that, I wanted them to learn what it was like to be on a team and how to work together. I didn't have that when I was younger. And again, not blaming my parents, it's just what it was. So knowing that, I thought if they had a team, they'd learn how to work together with these people and they could learn how to have learn how to share, learn how to come up with ideas, learn how to pass the ball, not pass the ball, learn how to go in tandem when you're rowing. Or in a tennis team or squash team, getting to that place where, okay, they just won that match. We've got to beat this goal. You've got to win your match. Or guess what? You don't have to be so, you don't have to play so hard this time because we're already ahead. And all of those things my children learned during sports, I didn't have. So I always saw people that were big athletes and they always had this sense of who they were. And I wanted to give my kids that. So that's why but um, doing that was something that I knew that I didn't have just from viewing other people in my life, and watching the people that had played on sports seemed to have a better way of managing life than I did. So I made my kids play sports. So that's why it was in the very beginning. But then that transition, right? Back to that transition. So then they were old and they went off to college, and the sports weren't like down the street. You'd go and watch down the street or into the city or wherever the game was. You weren't commuting to these games anymore. I mean, my oldest did play sports in college, and I did go and see him at times, which was such a joy. But it wasn't like it was down the street. I had to drive to Washington, D.C. or to North Carolina to watch his games. And it was a total transition of missing that part of life. It was so crazy and so emotional for me, because I will tell you this. I remember still standing at the grocery store, and it was a giant, before it was a Gennardi's in Wayne, PA, and going into the grocery store and being like walking through the aisles and running into another mom I knew. And she was like, "Are you going to Friday Night Lights?" And that transition from being a mom that had kids at home to a mom that had no kids at home was really hard, right? It was like that transition of like, who am I now in this community? I'm not the mom that's at school every day. I'm not the mom that's going to every sporting event. I'm not dropping my kids off in the morning before I do anything. That transition was really difficult. Now, my kids were still in my life, obviously, because they were in college and they were calling when they needed things and they came home for the holidays and they came home for the summer, at least for a little bit of time. And knowing like at that point, they were all still, needed their mom per se. But the transition was so big that I said to John, my husband, I said, let's go to Florida for 6 weeks. Well, that was oh my gosh, almost 7 years ago. And we have never left because I was like, who am I? What's my identity? And I know not everybody can move from their home and move to another city. People have jobs. My husband's job is on, and my job per se is on the computer. It's not like I have to go meet somebody in a brick and mortar place. So coming down here, okay, that was a transition. So I came to Florida and had to make new friends. And I've lived, for those of you that follow me regularly, know that I've lived in 3 different places since I've lived here. And I'm in the third one and I'm so embracing it now. But it took the transition. Fort Lauderdale wasn't our place. I loved it, but it wasn't right. So we went to Amelia Island. Wasn't right. At least I had the ability to pivot. And I feel really grateful for that because I think if you're living in a place where your needs aren't being met, it's really hard. The transition is even harder if you're in a place where you're like, I just don't feel like this is right. And again, when we're sober, we have these feelings. We know in our gut what feels right and what feels wrong. And that is such an amazing thing to acknowledge. Is like when you're in transition and you're in a place you shouldn't be, you're like, this isn't right. This isn't right. And it's speaking up and it's doing something about it. It's the courage to do that. And I think we also have to sit still when we're raising kids. Life is really chaotic, isn't it? When we go from having all these mouths to feed or just one mouth to feed to no mouths to feed except for yours and your partner, your spouse, or whatever, or if it's just you, that transition is really hard. And sometimes we just need to sit in it. Sit in the feelings. And knowing that not doing anything, like just saying, I'm just going to sit, I don't know where to go, is doing something. Saying, I'm not going to make a harsh or rush decision is okay. Sitting and saying, I don't know what to do, I'm just going to do nothing, is okay. And I can tell you that being in this middle, this transition place, it isn't meaningless. It's where we grow. I have grown so much in this place of being an empty nester. I never thought that I would gain so much knowledge of who I am once my kids left. Who am I? My nickname being busy, I've always been busy, busy, busy. I don't really like being busy all the time. I like to chill at home. I like to go to dinner a couple times a week with my husband and friends. It's always fun. I like to travel, but I like staying home. I think it's fun. I relax. My dogs are here. It's beautiful here in my home. I've made it so that it's exactly what I want. I can needlepoint. I can read a book and I can just chill and maybe listen to music or listen to a podcast. And God has been with me this entire time. I was telling somebody the other day that I remember being in my house. Life was so chaotic in Wayne. And being in the third floor of my house and feeling really lost. And like, what am I going to do next? And what's important? What isn't important? And I remember laying in bed and just crying. I think I just lost my best friend. I had had something else happen. It was a lot of chaos was around me. And I remember feeling this feeling of God just holding me, just somebody holding me and hugging me so tight. And was it God? Was it my guardian angels? Was it all of the above? Was it Mary? Was it all of the above? I don't know. But I can tell you this. I felt love like I'd never felt it before. And that was in a time of transition. And that love gave me a sense that I could move forward. And this sense of having faith in the fog. God is working all the time. God knows the outcome of this conclave. God knows the outcome of Elizabeth's life. God knows why I had to go through this time of transition with my children. In some ways, it's natural. In some ways, it isn't natural. I think we all want to put judgment on everybody else of how it's supposed to be. So many years I've been spent in my life of like, oh, it has to be like this and it has to be like this. And if it doesn't look like this and it doesn't look right, it has given me such agita, for lack of a better word, of like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And I remember just having such beliefs of right and wrong and all this rest of this stuff. And now the older I get, the less I know. And I remember my mother telling me that and my grandmother telling me that and not believing them. I'm like, wait a minute, you have to know. And they'd be like, no, I don't. I mean, the less I know, I don't know. And if we just trust in God that everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to, it's freedom. I think we think that the planning and that if we know what's going to happen, we planned everything. I'm going to take responsibility. Everything's my doing. I chose everything. Everything's coming out the way that I wanted it to come out. I'm the Almighty. It's bullshit, you guys. We are not the Almighty. God is the Almighty. God is the last day, not us, not us. Everybody wants to take credit. I did this. I did that. I don't take any credit for anything in my life. It's all been God. When I'm living in selfishness and self-centeredness, yes, then I take the credit. But it isn't about me. It's about God knowing. It says again in the Bible, like we know, God knows where we're going. Trust him. Trust him. If we trust him, everything is going to be okay. Self-care during this transition time is so important, you guys, and it's not selfish. There's a reason when we're on the plane and they say, oh my gosh, put your oxygen mask on you and then take care of your loved ones. I can tell you that if I'm not doing the certain things that I need to do, I'm no good for anyone. Okay? So I do not like to plan anything before 10 a.m. It's just who I am. I tried to do it for a little bit, for like 6 months, maybe 8 months, and it was not for me. I need to have my morning. I need to have my water. I need to have my coffee. I need to chill out in my home, feed my fish, stand in the ground outside, turn my will over. I need to do that every morning. That might sound selfish, but it's not selfish. It's self-care. Do you hear Lily? She's snoring again. It's self-care. It's spiritual maintenance. After all these years, my service is taking care of me first. I have to pray. I have to pray before I get out of my bed. I cannot not pray. If I do not pray before getting out of my bed, I am off kilter the entire day. If I don't get up and have my warm water with salt and lemon, I am not okay. I need to have my coffee. I'm not okay. My self-care makes me, for one, make better decisions, be able to listen more, be able to have been quiet. I meditate before I get out of bed and just turn it over. And I can tell you, when I was on my walk today, which is another thing I like to do, is walk with my dogs. I walked today, and on my walk, I started to go down this what if land, or what if that land, and what if that, and regret of yesterday, and all this other stuff. And I just got back into myself, and through my fingers, I was going, okay. I just went through and I said 10 times, oh, Jesus, I surrender myself to you. Take care of everything. Oh, Jesus, I surrender myself to you. Take care of everything. And I said it 10 times, and I went through my fingers while I was walking the dogs. It got me out of my head and got me into my fingers, got into me looking up into the sky and prayer. At that point, I didn't have to worry about what's going to happen next week, next year, tomorrow. I just had to worry about my fingers. So that self-care isn't selfish. I hope you remember that. And lastly, I'm going to tell you guys, healing and transformation and new beginnings start in the silence. Quiet. Embrace the quiet. I know it's a lot when all the drama stops, because I remember missing it like a toothache. What am I missing? There's no drama. There's no drama. There's no drama. Get quiet. Enjoy. Sit back. Relax. Take care of you and listen to your instincts. Listen to what your insides say. You can't hear your instincts if you're running around. So enjoy this time, embrace it. But I'm going to tell you, it is hard. It's hard. Transition is hard. But we can do it if we have some tools. So reach out if you need any help. I'm coaching again, just so you guys know. You can reach me at elizabeth@elizabethchance.com. DM me wherever you're listening to your podcasts. I will respond right back to you. Go to my website, elizabeth@elizabethchance.com, and sign up for my newsletter, which will come right into your inbox on Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And I'm putting up a lot of reels. I am going to be away in a couple weeks, but you've got me until then. I am going to go on vacation for 2 weeks, and I cannot wait. It's just me and my husband. And I just want to tell you that I'm excited to see who the new Pope's going to be. I hope you are too. I think it's going to be interesting. Let's see if next Wednesday when I'm on, if we'll be talking about it. I might even talk about it with my husband on Monday's podcast. But I want you to know that you are not alone. Reach out, and just want to say thanks for listening. I really, really, really appreciate it. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel or wherever you're watching this. I would love for you to subscribe. It would mean the world to me. And if you like today's podcast, please share it with your friends. Please. I would be so grateful. Share it with your friends, family. It would mean the world to me. Well, that's enough of me today. Take care, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks for listening to Conversations with Busy. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, if you could subscribe, that would mean the world to me. And follow me on all social media. And you can also get my newsletter every Friday morning into your inbox. Just go to elizabethchance.com and subscribe. Take care.